Well, good morning, everybody. Here in Africa, good evening, New Zealand. Good afternoon in wherever you are. I mean, I love this. We're so international. We're all over the show. It's really, really, really good to have you back with us, Gloria Masters, all the way from New Zealand, here on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. So, welcome back, beautiful lady. How are you? How have you been?
Oh, thank you so much. It's so awesome to be back, and I really appreciate you extending that invitation. Hey, look, I've been great. I'd love to have more time and be able to develop more content, but until I get some really good donations or sponsorship, I have to work as well. So.
That's just the way I see work though, it's just, for me, long ago I understood the concept of do what you love and love what you do. So I get up every morning just so excited because usually I'm speaking to amazing people like yourself. Today there's a whole lot of them lined up. And I'm like, wow, I'm speaking to so-and-so and I'm doing this and yoga in the morning. I got a client that comes 3 times a week and we have the best time before I start my day. So I think, it really, for me, is such an enjoyable process, this, and especially the last 2 years, I have to say, because even though it's been crazy and all of these things, we've really discovered some hidden truths, and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I've met people like yourself and beautiful Carmen Studer in the chat. She likes my background. Wait, this background is going to get painted purple one of these days. I just want to tell you. It's a room divider that a guy made from me from, what do you call it? Slats. And
Yes.
I love it. He recycles. I'm going to paint it purple, but thank you. Oops. So anyway, it's just a beautiful time, and I'm very happy to be alive and really, really happy to have you, Gloria, because if our viewers have watched our previous talks, I've interviewed Gloria once before, maybe 2 months ago now. Also a survivor and overcomer of these horrors, but really just such an incredible healer, done some amazing things in terms of healing after that, which is really, really beautiful. And we look forward to having regular interviews with you now, Gloria, where we're going to be talking about more and more of these things as well. So you've written a book, and I wonder if Mornay can just pop the cover up. There we go. Flight Path to Healing. Maybe before we carry on, you can just tell us a little bit about this book and where can people get hold of it?
Thank you. Great question. So this is Flight Path to Healing, and I wrote this book because I couldn't see anything out on the market that spoke to me in a really pragmatic, experiential way. And after having 16 years of child sexual abuse involving many horrendous experiences, I felt that it might be useful for me and other survivors actually to have a little bit of a flight path. And so what it means is you can pick the book up at any place during the book, and it's divided into sections. So one section and one area you and I are looking at tonight or today for you guys is dissociation, but there are many hallmarks for us. So I go through what they are and offer little tips and techniques and practical exercises. And there's also mantras in the book that I've created that are able to be removed from the book, and beautiful color images that you can actually put up in a bedroom mirror or in a car console that speak to you. So it's a flight path theme. And so you start with a boarding pass. Well, Chantelle, for every survivor of child sexual abuse, you've already got the boarding pass, because you've survived what you have. So we start with that and we move through to the end, which is an amazing passport for survivors, and they get a lifetime honour degree, and well deserved. So lots of experiential and practical techniques and solutions.
There you have it. And I have to tell you, I still think, I think her name was it, I can't remember now. I have written it down in my other book. One of our viewers actually said to us, because we just used to be solutions, and one of our viewers suggested we call ourselves solutions. So we took up the suggestion, and then Mornay, I must say, was very quick. I said, oh yeah. And within a day we had our stuff changed, because it really is. I love it, because it is the time now for us to look within. There is so much beauty within, and we have no idea unless we actually go there. So with your book as well, and I know we're going to be going through it, certain parts of it as we go along as well, but today we want to look at the hot topic, and it really is a hot topic, of dissociation, which I know a lot of survivors have brought to the fore. I think we've spoken to Jessie about that as well, a number of our other overcomers, which I think is also what a similar or the same diagnosis as a few years ago we'd be calling split personality, right? Is it the same thing?
Not at all. And I think it's really a really good point you make. Dissociation is referred to as the process of disconnecting from your thoughts, feelings, and reality. And as survivors of child sexual abuse or trauma, we tended to leave our bodies and look back in on ourselves, usually from above. You'll hear most survivors say from up on the ceiling. And the reason we did that is it was actually a beautiful mind. You talk about going within. It was our beautiful minds working in conjunction with our spirit to keep us safe. We couldn't deal with what was happening, Chantelle. So the mind leapt in and said, I've got you. Isn't that beautiful? And therefore removed us from the full experience of it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. And so, look, I'm so grateful for my mind. My mind kept me removed from all of this for 16 years. And I was in my 30s before the recall began, because then the mind was ready to say, hey, Gloria, it's your time. And my response was, F off. I don't want to deal with anything. But of course we have to. Now, the problem with dissociation now, Chantelle, in my humble opinion, is that for us, for survivors, we may still dissociate, because we learned to. And so as an adult, we actually need to be more connected. So dissociation served us, but perhaps a question to your beautiful viewers is, do you still need that to the same extent? Because you may not.
Yeah.
And so,
what would be, obviously, I think what I would in my mind say, like, when you were mature enough to deal with the trauma, your mind knew that. Intuitively, you knew that. So you kind of brought it up to the fore. Like, was that boil that was now coming to the surface, right? Where you were able to lance, squeeze, and then heal. Because we know healing is a messy business. It's painful. It's hurtful. You know, we've got to go into places where, gosh, I can't imagine what you must have felt like going back there again.
Oh, it was without doubt one of the worst times of my whole life. And I had 16 years of it. So I didn't have a couple of memories. surfacing. It was thousands. And Chantelle, the more horrendous, because you've got to remember there was satanic ritual abuse, there was gang initiations, there were pornographic movies I was exploited in, chained up and leased out of a nightclub in our red light district. I had so many memories that were coming through. It was like a tsunami. And it was actually almost as frightening as being there. And I think for survivors, what dissociation does when we finally start to be able to deal with it, it kept us so safe and protected that when it starts to emerge in us, it's simply because it's our mind's way of saying, hey, I'm here and you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And
What would,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you want to say anything else?
Well, just that its key characteristic is its strong link with childhood trauma, and it's one of the most common signs, actually. And I think people who are non-survivors often say, well, how can that be true if you've repressed it or your mind hasn't let you see it? So a good response, Chantelle, is a car accident. For any of the people trying to support a survivor, think of it this way. If you have a car accident, chances are you're not going to remember that for a while, depending on the severity of the accident, right? So you might wake up in hospital a week, 2 weeks, a month later and have no real recollection. Thank you, dissociation. Thank you, mind. You protected me from that trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So it really, like as in everything else, it's really just instead of my mind has blocked it off, it's thank you for protecting me and not showing me what I wasn't ready to see and deal with. Again, everything in the form of gratitude, the whole gentle opening. And then
Yes.
I would imagine that as you open up, the mind will then only release that which you are capable of dealing with in that moment, even though it might seem very traumatic and you might be shell shocked out of your wits for a little bit. But somehow you will find your way back because you do feel there's a sense of safety within you to deal with that. And that, I think, is something, that sense of safety, and as a healer for 20 odd years as well, I find that's a very important aspect for healing. People need to feel that they are safe in their bodies. Because if you look at, especially people like yourself who've undergone horrific traumatic experiences, your body was the thing that was most abused, most violated, most just, wow. So it's about learning how to feel safe in your body so that you don't feel the need to dissociate. I said disassociate. I don't know, I'm probably saying it wrong. But I hear
Chuck
you say,
in another syllable, you're fine.
we'll just make it our own.
Make up a new word.
But that's what I'm saying. So what would you say when someone starts getting memories, like you explained? How do they start feeling safe in their body again?
Yes, and that's a really useful path, actually, Chantelle. It's by actually being very gentle with oneself and recognizing that we are always, but always heading to healing and light.
Mm-hmm.
We are always moving on that path. So if the memories and the flashbacks start, it's simply because you're being shoulder tapped to face in. Now, it's going to feel terrible. We can't sugarcoat it, but we do know this. If you block it and try and stop it, which I did initially, it's got this habit of not diminishing, but actually coming back stronger. So what began as a shoulder tap might become a shove. If you ignore that, you're going to get hit in the face. If you're still going to try and ignore it, you're going to get shoved so hard, you've got no choice but to face in. So two things help. One, reminding yourself, and I always say this to people, look at your hands. So look at the palm of your hands. And if you even look at yours and I look at mine, Chantelle, they are an adult's hands. You are an adult. This is not happening now. You are safe and you are being led to healing.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Beautiful. That would be definitely the first, because really the only person that can pacify you is yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you can have a million people around you telling you this, telling you that. All we can do is offer you guidance to
Yes.
get
Yeah.
to the place. But ultimately, you've got to be the one that sits. And I mean, my favorite Bible verse of all time is "Be still and know that I am God." You know,
Yes.
just to sit in that place and
Yes.
just know that you are created from the divine source, the divine creator, and you are loved. And if you are breathing and your heart is beating, there's a reason for you to be here. You never know what your future holds for you. You never know. I mean, look at you, Gloria, what you went through, and look at you today, you know, having come through such a horrific experiences, and then now writing a book and helping people who've been through what you've been through. We never know what our life has in store for us. So I think that would be the first thing. And something that I think is also very important is that people start to exercise. I mean, I'm a yogini, okay, and I know not everyone agrees with yoga, but for me and some of my students that I've worked with also more recently as well, it's about feeling in control of your body, feeling strength in your body. You know, when we like, let's say, do a practice of yoga, you know, you learn to build strength. You learn to understand how to work the mind and body combination. So it builds strength, it builds confidence, it builds connection. And when we start feeling strong in our body, we can somehow start feeling as if we're in control in a much greater way, because that was what was violated, right? Where you had no control.
Yes.
So maybe to start taking steps. And if you don't like that stuff, maybe just walking, smelling the air, you know, stretching, lifting your arms and being aware and turning your head of the miracle that is your body.
I
Just
love what you're saying. Oh, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
no, I'm done. I'm actually done. Thank you.
Okay. I love what you're saying, because one of the key mitigating factors, or one of the key things that helps bring us back into our bodies, is what we call the five senses exercise. And so what it is we get some lavender and smell it. Notice a tree and look intently at the bark on that tree, or have a bite of an apple. You know, touch something. It might be a rock on the beach, but engaging the five senses grounds us and brings us back into our body, because we got into the habit of being dissociative. And moving that body and breathing and all of those really core components are so valuable. And another thing that you had mentioned, and I just want to add to, is this: when the voice is on the inside, or the voice on the inside is louder and more powerful than the voices on the outside, you have mastered your life.
Absolutely. And that's a very amazing feeling to feel. And I love what you said there, the five senses exercise, because I think that's exactly where one begins. Is like just to appreciate tasting.
Yes.
Ask anyone who's had this funny spiky flu thing lately. Um, and many people have lost their taste. I mean, one of my friends said to me, it's like he was trying to eat a piece of cheese, I think he said. He said it was like a salt block in his mouth.
Yeah.
He said, you can just imagine. I mean, I've never lost my taste. So just to appreciate, I love food, so I just can't imagine what would happen to me if I lost my taste. I'd be devastated, I'll tell you that much.
We're not going to do that to you, Chantelle.
I hope not.
There are other things with dissociation as well, and I think it's really important we do that. Moving the body is crucial, and I love that you brought that up. I think it's also, making sure that we ground ourselves in our body by looking at it and noticing it and recognizing we are in the here and now. And man, you deserve such honor, people. You survived this and you're here today. And, I don't think sometimes as survivors we give ourselves enough credit or acknowledgement actually for emerging through.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. I mean, it's that appreciation of the body. I always say, when you're in the shower and you wash your arms, just thank your arms for hugging and holding, your hands that touch and feel, your eyes that see, your nose that smells, your knees that bend, your flexible fingers. Gosh, anyone who's been in pain or has any sort of physical disability can really understand and appreciate what it feels like to have a fully functional body, right? So the more we appreciate what the body is, there's something I always say, your cells are listening. The more we talk and appreciate, you as a human being know, I mean, anyone who's in a work career, when you appreciate it in the role you're playing and you are valued, you shine, you radiate. You enjoy what you're doing, you're putting energy in and you're getting appreciated, you grow, you bloom. Exactly the same thing with your body. So just to learn how to appreciate my hands that are flexible. I don't care that the bank manager's on your back right now. In this moment, your hands are flexible. You can smell, you can touch. Wow, wow, the sun's shining. What a miracle.
Yes.
It's starting with the little things. And, we are so prone to looking at ourselves with criticism, especially as we grow older, right? The cellulite sets in, the boobs start sagging, the wrinkles start, and it was like, oh my gosh, look at photographs of me when I was 20. Can you believe that's what I looked like when I was 20? I'm going, well, you're 60 now. I think it's normal that you've aged a little bit, don't you think? So it's understanding and appreciating rather than looking at the external. It's appreciating the fact that you can breathe, that your heart is beating, that you're here, that you're alive.
Yeah.
These are little things I think that people can start just doing, and not just high level traffic people. I'm talking about everyone has their path to walk. Your experience might be very different, but it can have a very hectic effect on you. So if you are having these kind of symptoms where you feeling disassociated, where you're feeling anxious, where you're feeling depressed, whatever. It's really just a beginning to understand that the power and the light is within you. Just start doing the little things that make a difference to yourself.
100%. And also, we need to acknowledge as well that actually every human being on the planet dissociates, Chantelle. We just do
Sure.
it to a smaller or larger degree. And I'll give you an example of this. You and I included, there's people that we're going to be listening to at times, and really, we're just thinking, please stop talking. And our mind takes us to the shopping list. Enough now. Shut up, sort of thing. But we smile and nod, but we've dissociated from it because we've now written a shopping list in our yeah. So every human being does
And I'm
that.
sitting like this with my phone.
Yeah. And so we do that. But what we're talking about is on a continuum. Dissociation's on a continuum. And for some of our survivors, they may have dissociated through what happened to them, and thank heavens they did. But sometimes, depending on what makes us all individual is our makeup, is that they may have gone right to the end of dissociative amnesia, which is kind of quite at the severe end. And again, it was designed to help us, but my question back now is it actually helping you now? Because if you find you're distracted, if you find you lose time, think about driving somewhere, Chantelle. Can you honestly say you always know how you got from A to B? Or are you suddenly home and you think,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you dissociated. So there's a part of you that stayed conscious, but there's a part of you that wrote your next blog or book or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
true.
I think we need to normalize dissociation to some extent, because what we find in survivor land is we get labeled with so many things, and the reality is there's always a way through. And there's a wonderful saying that good or bad, it's equally welcome. And by that I mean we either appreciate what's come our way because it quantified or qualified what we were thinking, or we don't appreciate it because we needed to learn something. So either
Absolutely.
way, we can be grateful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everything is an opportunity for us to look a little deeper, I think. And sometimes I find if we change the word grateful to appreciate, because sometimes if we're thinking vibrations of words, because remember, the frequency in us is what manifests around us. So if we're trying to be grateful for something that we're not really feeling grateful for, that can sometimes be counterproductive. But if we can say, well, I'm not grateful that my father beat me up, but I can appreciate that it taught me how to smell out a con man or a man with addictions or violence or whatever. I can appreciate the lesson. So if we start with appreciation, it's not as daunting as grateful. I'm not grateful I was in the system and abused for 50 years, but I can appreciate that I saw so much that no one can ever pull the wool over my eyes again. And I can appreciate that that experience has given me the tools to write an amazing book. So I think if we can just not force ourselves to feel anything we're not ready to feel, because that is something so counterproductive. Because now we're seeing the world is smiling and all the survivors are out there and happy and married with children. Here I am. No, that's probably not what you're meant to be seeing. Then we start comparing ourselves.
No, it's simply
Yeah.
that what I've learned is that for me, I'm always exactly where I'm meant to be
Yes, absolutely.
every second of my life. Do I always value it or appreciate it? No. But it's not until I look back, Chantelle, and then I realise, there was that lesson. Had I
Yes,
not been in that situation that I didn't appreciate or want to be in, I would not have learned that. So I guess that's what I'm really thinking. I'm not.
absolutely.
Yeah. Look, it's a really complex terrain that we need to navigate, and I always think with survivors, one size definitely doesn't fit all, and through the flight path to healing, the guide, it's your flight path. You choose your destination. Just like if you're going on a
Absolutely.
journey or a trip somewhere, Chantelle, you plan where you want to go. You plan where you want to stop off. You plan who you want to see. And it's the same with this. It really,
Yeah.
to me, it's choice. Gives survivors a choice.
Mm,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And as you say, it's very important. One size doesn't fit all.
No,
It's about an experiential thing, which is a really beautiful journey. And it's really, as painful as what healing can be, and it is because it's like taking that scab off and cleaning the wound, right? And your mom puts Bernie stuff and you go, ow, 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 stop, stop, stop.
yes.
Um, that's really kind of what this is about. So I really think it's just about people being very gentle with themselves, as you say, learning tiny baby steps at a time is beautiful. But what I actually wanted to ask you, we said we were speaking about the difference between split personality and disassociation. Because let's say, for example, in your experience, at a very early age, you disassociated because of the violence and the trauma. So these aspects of yourself kind of learn how to, they've got a mind of their own. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So, how does one then bring that back into a place of balance? And what would it just be blocking out for a moment, or would it be taking on another persona for a moment? You see what I'm saying? That would be the split or sort of multiple personality, because would multiple personalities not stem from this in many situations?
Look, and it can, and I don't know enough about dissociative identity disorder or that MPD,
Okay.
multiple personality disorder. But what I do know is this: I don't tend to call it split personality. I'm very appreciate that didn't happen to me. But what did happen, and what this may speak to you, Chantelle, was I was so disintegrated. My personality was scattered everywhere because I had to endure so much. My mind had to cut off so much that in order to be accepted by people, depending on what area I was in, whether it was with my good Catholic mother when I stayed at her house, or my satanic pedophile father, and behave differently there, and then again behaving differently at school. So I had many split off aspects. I was so disintegrated that a lot of my healing journey was about reintegration and
Right.
accepting those parts of myself and trying to bring them in, because who you see is integrated. But it took decades. It
Yeah.
took decades for me to integrate and be authentic, because who I wasn't ever accepted, you see.
Are
Bone.
you saying that in your particular situation, you didn't necessarily have different aspects of yourself at play or shifting in and out of parts of yourself, so to speak, but you just withdrew, is what I'm hearing, right? Is that I'm trying to understand how this plays itself out for different people. And the reason I'm asking is because as someone who hasn't had this kind of thing occur, I would love to know how the person on the street would recognize in a compassionate way that someone who has, and how do we assist that? That's kind of like the thread of my question. How do we as humanity create a compassionate space by recognizing dissociation when we see it?
Yeah, so dissociation, when you see it, you will see it in people because there are either comments are made like they're too good to be true, or they're abusing drugs and alcohol, or there's always a problem in their lives. And so there's not a sense of balance or peace.
Yes.
When I talk about disintegration, what I'm trying to say is for survivors, we were not accepted for who we were, which is beautiful, young, innocent children. So in my case, I then chose to be and use a false self, which was the smiling, people pleasing, engaging, gold medal award winning, perfect person in all situations. Yeah.
Mm. So
Not,
you
not,
really just played, you had this one kind of role, dual role that kind of was not a dual role, sorry, that's the wrong word. Just one, I don't know, I don't even know what the word is, but one face, but it was a broad one that could
think,
cover.
yeah,
Yes,
think of a masked ball. So I had a
yes,
mask in front of me. All anyone ever saw was the mask.
mask, yeah,
It was never
absolutely.
safe for me, and there was no permission from either parent to be me, but they would accept the mask.
Yeah.
So can you
Wow.
imagine the pain and trauma then for me as a survivor and potentially other survivors?
Yes,
If you're not
absolutely.
accepted for who you are, you adapt, because as children we adapt. And if that means we become disintegrated, or some people, as you pointed out initially, they do have dissociative identity disorder, or they do have multiple personalities, and that help keep them safe. And it just
Yes,
takes years, I think, for all of that to come back into wholeness and healing.
yeah,
It's very
absolutely.
painful, very, very painful journey for.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I think it's for me as well. What the main thing I think that I would like to understand is that we can recognize that in the other. But I guess we're not going to do that until we've healed ourselves. I mean, that's what I teach all the time. When we're in a place of compassion, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it was so interesting the other day. And I have to tell you this. I mean, this was just me. I was there was someone who reached out to me on WhatsApp and sent me a message, and I reached out, da da da, and then sent this very bizarre message, and then I sent her another message. Wow! The next minute she comes back and hurls the most hectic abuse at me. You effing bitch! You with your yoga poses and your Cape Town photos. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, and I'm the cause, and I'm like abusing my spiritual gifts and I'm a demon. Yes, I've got a demon, and she sees my demon, and I'm like, wow. But and I just said to her, Angel, you need to calm down, take a breath, and then maybe it's better you delete my number. That was my response to her. Whereas usually I'd go, oh my gosh, this woman's in cloud cuckoo land, But understanding really that what good Does it help to fight and be nasty to someone like that who is clearly very tortured already? And I think that for me was a big lesson, because I was able to not take that on personally, because there was no ways that I had done anything on a personal level. I was being kind, she didn't like that. And she sees me as being someone who's very rich and she has no money. And that's the problem. And whatever money she gets, she spends on marijuana and alcohol. So and I understand that. So what is the point of giving someone shit, excuse my language, and being a real bitch back when, as I said, they clearly are in a state of despair? So for me, that I think would be a big thing, is that we can recognize that there are people out there who we have no idea what has happened in their lives. And when this craziness comes out of nowhere, not to react to it, just to understand that there's a lot of that out there, and maybe offer a word of kindness in return, not from a sanctimonious point of view, but really from a heart point of view.
Well, it's an interesting thing that you raise, and I think a couple of things about it. One is, yes, compassion can always and should always be used, but equally so do setting boundaries. So I love that you say you asked you to lose your number.
Yeah.
Why? Because once we let that into our energetic field, there's good and there's not good out there in terms of what comes through. So,
Totally.
and then I think the other thing is that, for someone who clearly was using a lot of projection, so the demon she's projecting on you was clearly residing within. And what we find in this space is that, of course, survivors, and she will have been through whatever, but we also always have a choice, don't we? There's free will.
Absolutely.
And look, I can have a shit day like you can, like anyone can. Am I going to take it out on you? No.
Yeah.
Because what does that do? And I think perhaps that's more healing, but we can be compassionate, but we also have to be quite clear, because as survivors, Chantelle, we had to take so much that it's a real struggle for us sometimes to be able to set those boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, and the other thing is, the key thing actually was this, and I heard it the other day. I'd love to know what you think. Stop telling people, this is the saying, stop telling people how great they are when they're dysregulated or struggling with trauma. All they can't actually absorb about how great they are. All they really want to hear is that they're safe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even I mean, me, as people, there were times that I'd go through a really rough time, and my friends, some of my best friends, would say to me, "You're strong. You can handle this." And all I wanted to do was, no, at this moment, come around and have a coffee, sit for 10 minutes and chat and ask me how I'm doing and what's bugging me. It really is so true. I absolutely agree with that. You're great. You're a winner. Absolutely say wonderful things. And I really admire your strength, because you're doing what I certainly don't think I could be doing. So there's ways to say things, There's also ways to say things. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Obviously, you want to encourage the person, but you don't want to give them this false bravado. Speak from your heart and say, wow, I think I absolutely admire your journey. I know I have no idea how I would handle that. I'm praying for you. Whatever. Stuff like that might be really good, but not You're wonderful. You got this. You're strong. You can do this.
No, I think, and the interesting thing is, the good news is we have body language, which is our most powerful communication tool. If you're telling someone how great they are and they're starting to edge away from you, or they're not looking happy, they're not feeling able to hear that. There's stuff going on for them. So I just thought it was quite a useful thing to hear, actually, because I'm guilty of that. I'll thank the sky for being available. I'll give an award to the guy who posts the mail. Like that's who I am. But the result, the point is that not everyone can hear that, and it can feel a little bit intrusive when they're struggling.
Absolutely.
So I love what you said before. It's the gentleness, it's the compassion, it's actually letting people be where they need to be and just honouring everybody individually where they are, because it's their flight path, isn't it, Chantelle? Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to just see the chats here, other than a whole lot of porn dating sites that are trolling our chat room.
Yes.
Don't know anyone's porn dating sites here, not us. But
How
anyway.
appropriate, Chantelle, you're interviewing a child sexual abuse, sex trafficking survivor.
Yeah, like, okay. And you can't even block these disgusting things anyway. I actually like her from Liz Danette, I think that's how you pronounce it. She just says, I struggled with the words grateful and thankful. I appreciate the new outlook. Absolutely. The day that I started saying to myself that I stopped trying to force myself to be grateful that I wasn't really grateful for, I started changing the narrative in my head. And I just understood how to start looking at the appreciation and the gentleness. And if I don't feel like doing something right now, I'll do it in 10 minutes if I really have to. But, it's just fine. I'll set my 3 tasks for today. And when I achieve them, mission accomplished, So I think that's great. Just want to see if there's anything here. Yeah, there was a book, Body Keeps the Score, and I found out my husband was... What happened to you? What happened? Sorry, yes, she's saying, I found out that what my husband was into my body and mind experienced my past memories. Had that happened to your guest?
I'm not quite sure.
So what she's saying is the body keeps the score. So by sort of delving into the body, did you go, and I'm thinking that's what she's saying, and my mind experienced my past memories. So by going into the body, she started experiencing past memories, past lives, maybe stuff like that. And she's asking if you've actually experienced anything like that.
No, just the trauma. Just the trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carmen loves the accident illustration. I like that as well because it's very, very pertinent. Where if you see it's a physical trauma as well as a mental, as well as an emotional, it's one heck of a trauma, really. I can't imagine how any human being can come out of that happy, sane, alive. But yet, yeah, you are beautiful, Gloria. So, okay, well, I don't know if there's anything else you would just like to end, because I see we're just about out of time. So if there's anything you'd like to say, just in closing to our viewers before we bid you guys farewell.
Oh, thank you. Look, trusting self is a big part of this, because we learn to doubt ourselves because we were so invaded and disregarded through all of this process. And I think just trusting your instinct, because you know the truth and you know how you felt. Oh, and if anyone wants the book, gloriamasters.com, or it's on Amazon as well.
We'll post all the links to your books and your everything in the description section below. So check it out. Mornay has posted the link as well for your book in the comment section. Maybe Mornay, you can just post it one more time before the end, so that if anyone has missed it from before, it's always telling me how strong I am. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Maingwankwe. Maingwankwe. That sounds like an African name. They told me that all the time when I had cancer, always telling me how strong I was. It would upset me too. It's true. And I know
Yeah.
people mean well. It really is true. I'm glad this has come up because I know people mean well when they say that. You know, you're strong, you can do this, this, that. But sure, just sometimes we just want to be held and just hugged and say, it's okay, let me make you a cup of soup or a meal. So doesn't matter. Let's not talk about that now. Let me show you some kindness. So yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So are
Okay,
you,
guys.
Chantelle.
Hmm?
So are you. You
Oh, and you. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this amazing conversation with this very, very special lady, Gloria Masters from New Zealand. And we will be having her back as a regular. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things that she's experienced on her healing journey and that she's written books on and shared and counseled with others. So please join us. Watch the space. We will let you know exactly what timing we're going to be doing it as. And in the meantime, God bless you all. See you very, very soon. We're back this afternoon with Jessie on Aquarius Rising Africa. And yeah, love to see you all again soon. Take good care of yourselves. See you soon. Like, share, and subscribe. You guys know about all of these things. Like, share, note, da, da, da. All the platforms we're there. Find us. Thank you.
Thanks.